Hello everybody, this is Gruesome Fox coming at you with a 650 cost rated match in the Flint. We're going to be on Resort Development District for this round here, and the Flint is going to be our banner suit for this week in GBO2. So far I've been really enjoying the Flint. I've said it a couple times on my channel already, and I'll say it again. I tend to really like the 650 generals we have in GBO2. Whether they're older or newer, I always feel like they tend to do pretty good for the most part, and the Flint here is our new 650 general for the week, and yeah, it is quite a good unit indeed. I'll start by quickly going over the weapons and highlight skills for the suit here. If you do want to see a more detailed look at the Flint here, I do have my testing video on the channel. But to kind of just give a quick rundown of the Flint here, the suit is a 650 cost general unit. And looking at the weapons here, for your main primary, you do have the Flint Zan Buster. This can fire 2 instant stunning shots when uncharged, and when charged it will fire 1 piercing round at the cost of 4 rounds of ammunition. For your main melee weapon, you do have the Flint Beam Saber. For sub-weapons, you have a pair of head Vulcan guns. These do just about everything that the higher cost Vulcans can do. You can use them while boosting, and they come with some really high stagger accumulation, so a really good pair of Vulcans for the Flint here. But if you want even more machine gun power, you do have the chest machine gun at ×2. This has less stagger accumulation than the Vulcans, at least from what I've seen of it, but it does come with higher damage output. And for even more machine gun power, you have the 120mm machine gun. This both has really good damage output and pretty good stagger accumulation, but this is also compatible with the linked fire skill, where if you have the machine gun while linked fire is enabled, you will also be firing the head Vulcans and the chest machine gun, giving you a full barrage of ballistic power. And what's also good about this is that while linked fire is activated, you can use the machine gun while boosting. For your other melee weapon, you have the Flint Heat Dagger ×2, which is also available in a throwable option. You have the Flint Heat Dagger ×2 thrown. This also counts as a melee weapon where you throw the daggers, but it does come with the downside of being unable to use the handheld melee version of the daggers until those throwable versions reload. And finally, you do have a beam shield. This does do a lot of the typical beam shield things. You can use it to bash enemies, and it will knock them over if they are trying to hit you with a melee. But this shield also comes with a limit remover, where it will temporarily boost both the attack and defense performance of the shield, and also if another weapon is selected while the limiter is disabled, overheat recovery time will be increased without any change in the heat gauge. So very interesting for the beam shield here. I think this might be the first beam shield weapon to have a limit remover of some kind, so very cool to see it on the Flint here. Hopefully we'll see that in some more suits in the future. And to round out the details here, just go over some of the highlight skills that the Flint comes with. You do have a double dodge roll with emergency evasion system level 2. You also have maneuver armor at level 1, melee combo controller at level 1, which does apply to both the beam saber and the melee version of the heat daggers. You have aerial melee system level 2, linked fire level 2, which does mean the linked fire on this mobile suit is reusable, and flap booster level 2. And yeah, that's going to be everything I have for the weapons and highlight skills I wanted to go over for the Flint here. Looking at the suit as a whole, yeah, the Flint is definitely really good for the cost, and only being a 2-star as well. For being a 2-star rarity unit, you do get a pretty full package with this unit. You get a full kit of weapons, which something I did forget to mention with the weapons is that for the throwable heat daggers, you can use them while walking and boosting, so another good thing for the daggers there. And the loadout for the suit is really good. I really can't name anything too bad in terms of cons for the loadout. Really the biggest things being that if you do use the throwable heat dagger, you do have to wait for the reload before you can use the melee option, meaning you are going to be down technically 2 melee weapons because the throwable version is also a melee weapon, so you don't have the throwable ones and you won't have the melee version as well. And the other thing too being for the 120mm machine gun, after the linked fire is over, it will go into a cooldown period, and during that time you cannot use the machine gun until that cooldown is over. but you can still use the Vulcans and the chest machine gun. Those are still going to be available to you. It's just going to be that handheld 120mm, which even in its base form, that weapon is really good. So definitely a weapon you want to use in both forms. To kind of lead that into more of the pros, I know I just went into some of the weapon cons, but I do want to start off with some pros of this unit. One of the other big things with the linked fire in the machine gun is that even if your machine gun is out of ammo, if you use link fire, it will instantly reload. So usually it's a good strategy to just fire the machine gun at base, then go into the linked fire, so that way you instantly have a full magazine again, doing even more damage and more stagger with the linked fire skill. So can be really useful for that. Some of the other pros you have is that you are a smaller mobile suit for 650 here, being a late UC style unit, and you also have quite a lot of mobility as well. I highly recommend doing a thruster build for this unit, at least having something for thrusters, because this is a unit you want to make as much use of your boosting as possible, especially when it comes to all of your boost to fire weapons. So definitely having some type of thruster on this unit, I would say, is definitely worth it. And really aside from the really good loadout you get, again, really can't name that many cons when it comes to the loadout. Again, you get some really good pros when it comes to the Flint here. As for downsides, there are two things that I've come across quite a bit while playing this unit. The first one being that the Flint is rather squishy. I think that's kind of a trait with a lot of the late UC units, is that they are made to be a bit squishier to kind of balance out the mobility and the high damage output they are capable of doing. But that is something to keep in mind, is that the Flint is kind of squishy. If you are caught in a bad situation, you can take quite a bit of damage, possibly even get destroyed quite easily. And playing into that is the other downside I've noticed with the Flint, that being that this suit is rather easy to stun and stagger. Despite having maneuver armor to help you while boosting, there are a lot of mobile suits and weapons that can very easily stop the Flint in its tracks, or knock it out of the air if it is using Flap Booster. Some units that I've noticed that are really good for dealing with the Flint here are the Abigor. I have noticed a lot of Abigors doing really good against the Flint, so that's probably like the biggest one I've seen kind of acting as a counter to this unit. All of the full armor engaged Gundams I've also seen do really well against the Flint. The Gun Blaster is another highlight. I've seen that also do really good against the Flints, especially since I think the Gun Blaster does have its own pair of boost to fire weapons, so that I think is really good for chasing down the Flints while it is flying. And of course you could always counter the Flint with another Flint, but really I think most suits at 650, really anything that has a really good stagger accumulation weapon or a heavy stagger of some kind is really good at dealing with this mobile suit. And I think for what the Flint can do, I think its low durability and ability to get stunned is rather fair. And overall, I do think the Flint is a rather balanced unit for 650. There's nothing about it that I think is too overbearing or anything we haven't really seen for the cost already. And for all of its strengths that it has, I think it has enough weaknesses and counters to really keep it in check and prevent it from being anything overpowered or anything too problematic that can't be dealt with. Really just another good general for 650 that we have here. And that is going to be a mission complete. Let's see how we did with the Flint in this round here. And top individual and top diversions for this round here. Unfortunately, we did lose a player, but first place overall with 8 kills and 3 loss. So really good match there with the Flint, and that is going to be everything for the round. And to kind of just summarize and close off here, I do think the Flint is a really good unit, really good, really fun unit, has some really good strengths but also some weaknesses that help to keep it in check. And on the topic of if you should pull for it, I think if you don't have anything else for 650, I would say absolutely. Maybe you're looking for a new 650 General, looking for something that is rather good. I would say the Flint is a really good unit for what it can do. But if you have some of the other, currently meta 650 Generals, then I think you could skip on this. And if you are waiting for Anniversary to come around, which I think should be right around the corner by the time this video comes out, then I would also say skip on this suit. It is a 2-star, so it is easier to get than the 3-star units, at least theoretically. GBO2s pulls can be kind of weird sometimes with that, but it is a lower rarity, meaning it should be, at least again, theoretically easier to acquire in the future. But really kind of just a unit I would say spin for it if you really need a 650 general or it is a unit that interests you. This is a unit that I pulled on curiosity and really ended up liking it, so if you do get it, maybe you'll like it too. But again, I don't think this is a necessary unit to own, not anything I think is going to become like too meta or like too kind of, I don't want to say too common, but like, I think it's gonna have its place in the meta, but just not really be a top contender, I think is the best way I can kind of put it for now. But that is going to be everything I have for this video here. Comment down below what you think about the Flint. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And if that's, I will see you all in the next one. Later.